Hello, my name is Jamie Birchall, and you are listening to and or watching our podcast called Wormhole Pinball
Wormhole
Presents.
Pinball presents.
Wormhole Pinball Presents. Today, I'm very, very excited to be joined by two great individuals. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by a very special guest.
And today, I'm very excited to be joined by two awesome guests all the way from Arizona.
Hello, and welcome to the Wormhole and our podcast we call Wormhole Pinball Presents, an interview series we started to highlight those in pinball and arcades. And today I'm excited to welcome back to the Wormhole a pinball player and commentator. She's also a professional poker player and recent contestant on season 2 of Netflix show called The Mole. Of course, I'm talking to Mellisa Lummus. Welcome back to the Wormhole, Mellisa.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm always excited anytime I get to do anything with you and the Wormhole crew. It's
oh my gosh,
extended family for me.
Well, not only have I met you here at the Wormhole, but I've met you at Space City Open and at TPF. So
Yeah.
I've seen you in a bunch of places. We shared a mic together, and I helped you behind the scenes in this year's, which you could still see on YouTube, shameless plug, where you commentated with Aaron.
It's true. Yeah. I'm born and raised in the Houston area. So although I've been in Nashville for about 15 years now, I still go back. I see family, and Houston still has like a big part of my heart. So it's been awesome to find a pinball family down there too.
Yeah, you can. Well, speaking of pinball families, you're going to be watching over and competing with two of our own soon in Nashville. I'm talking about the Jonet girls.
Uh-huh.
And
you are right.
Those kids have really grown up in front of our eyes here, and this family is the first family of pinball in Houston. So do me a favor, take care of those kids for us, okay? Keep them out of trouble.
Don't you worry. I love those girls. You know, those were some of the first people I met too. The first event I did actually with Wormhole was when y'all did the space camp weekend a couple years ago. So I got to meet the girls and Elizabeth, and they're just so sweet and so welcoming. So once I found out they were going to Belmont, I was like, don't you worry. You always have someone here. I'll take good care of them.
Didn't you go to Belmont?
I did. I graduated. I feel cheating when I say that because I only did my last year at Belmont. I actually transferred there from Baylor. But I am a Belmont grad, so I can claim that.
What does your degree say?
Film and digital media with a minor in theater.
But it says a Belmont on top, doesn't it?
It sure does. It sure does.
All right, we have a lot to talk about between pinball, poker, of course, your entertainment background, and the Mole. But let's start with pinball, right? Because most of the people here are gonna, they love pinball. So
yeah,
how long have you been involved? How long have you been involved in the Nashville pinball scene?
I got involved in the Nashville tournament pinball scene after the pandemic. So I've grown up playing in arcades. I actually got my first machine in 2019.
Which one was it?
Dr. Dude.
Nice. We got a Dr. Dude back there.
I love it.
Excellent Ray. I love Dr. Dude.
It's I have a neighbor in my building. I live in like a loft building in Nashville, and one of my neighbors is a collector, and he was getting a new machine. Didn't want to sell the dude yet. It was his first one, and he said, "Hey, I know you play pinball. Do you want to take care of the dude for a while?"
Yeah, you want to house it. Love housing pins.
Oh, absolutely. So I spent a lot of my 2020 just hanging out with Dr. Dude, man. And so on the other side of all of that, I had a friend that was in the tournament scene here and said, we do have tournaments. And to be honest, I was a little bit intimidated at first. I was like, oh, no, I just play for fun. And they convinced me to go, and it couldn't have been a nicer group of people to stumble into. I immediately felt at home. I think I've been back every week. I've been in Nashville since that time in 2021.
That's the community, right? That's what we love about them. And yeah, where do you play often?
I play at No Quarter the most regularly in East Nashville. It's about 5 minutes from my house. It is my Cheers bar, if you will. But, we're lucky in Nashville where we have several venues for great pinball. Game Galaxy out in Smyrna is a great place. They've got like 300 machines. It's a little more of a drive, so I'm not there as much. But, man, you want some variety, spend a day at Game Galaxy. We've got Game Terminal. We had Eastside Bowl recently. So we're definitely not in a shortage of pinball where I live, which I'm very grateful for.
That's awesome. We had a private event here last night, and we do rentals. Shameless plug number two, and we had a country musician from that plays out of Nashville. His name is shout out to Jason Eddy, and
Nice.
he came in and he grew up playing pinball, and we had a private event here, and he goes, "Have you ever heard of No Quarter?" I said, "Well, funny enough, yes, I have." And he
Mhm.
loves No Quarter. He talks about it all. He spent 10 minutes telling me what a great place it is.
It is, it's really just the sweetest people. And we also now we're connected in the same building to a bar called Hubba Hubba, which is a tiki bar that does karaoke. So it's become this whole thing on Wednesday night where you can go, you can play a tournament. It's strikes format. So if you get out, you can walk next door, watch or partake in some karaoke, come back to No Quarter, and it's just this kind of sibling relationship between the two places. That's, I mean, it's all of my favorite things in one building, basically.
I love karaoke. I'm terrible, but I don't even care. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna
Right.
keep going, especially, whatever it is.
Well, it's all song choice, you know. You find
Yeah.
something everyone else will sing with you. It doesn't matter if you can sing a lick.
What did I sing? We have a Christmas party here that's a big blowout at the Wormhole, and I sing Neil Diamond's I want to Neil Diamond stupid songs. It's so good. It's
It's so
so
fun.
dumb.
Well,
Oh,
when you make your way to Nashville, we can hit all the stops in one for you, Jamie.
wow. We thought we had we thought we're going to Nashville to pick up that pin we were talking about earlier offline. So that could happen, by the way. Uh,
Ooh.
that could happen before. Are you going to TPF? And are you going to Houston Arcade Expo or Expo? Those three.
I don't know yet, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm hoping to. I'm kind of figuring out my schedule on the backside of all the madness, which we'll get into later, but I'm
Yeah.
sort of recalibrating and trying to figure out what the rest of the year looks like. But
I'm just trying to
we
see
did
if I
make
don't go
TPF
up
this
there, if I
year.
could see you.
Yeah. Definitely
Yeah.
keep me in the loop.
Yeah. Because I'm going to all three because I'm a glutton. So, I'm crazy. So we're going to go to all three. But of course, we're streaming two of them. And the Expo, we just chill. So that's just really fun. I can't wait to go to. I've never been to Chicago Expo. So,
I haven't either.
yeah.
It's on the radar. It's on the maybe list right now, and I'm really hoping to be able to get up there. I'm gonna try to like couple it with some work, maybe.
Yeah.
Do a
That's
little bit in Chicago and swing it that way. So if anyone needs anything, email me.
yeah. There we go. Uh, Real quick, Nashville Pinball League, they stream on Broken Diode channel on Twitch. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. We streamed again for the first time this weekend. Um, Daniel Curran and Bonnie Aldruff Curran are the geniuses behind that on the tech side. They started our first streaming channel this past year, which has just been an absolute blast. There's a few floating around Nashville, but that's who I do the most commentary with. We did go on a little bit of a hiatus for a bit due to just schedules, and Daniel had an eye surgery.
Oof.
So we all agreed, like, take a little bit of a mini break, but we actually just kicked it back off on the Summer Classic this year. So we'll be back in action, and it's a great time. We really
It's a
all
great
enjoy it.
channel. I really I love you guys, and I love watching, and it's fun. You guys do a good job. Good stream.
Thank you. I can take very little credit. I kind of show up and do this. I talk to people all day, but I'm very grateful for my friends that are more technically inclined that can pull off
I
that
had
side
to
of
learn all this shit. I had to
it.
learn it. I had no idea what I was doing. It has taken me a lot of hours, 10,000 hours. I don't know, but it's taken a lot to figure out
Well,
this.
you got it down. You definitely got it down. We always love watching y'all as well.
Well, the two rigs is awesome at TPF. Wasn't that awesome to your own
Amazing.
horn? God, that was so fun. I was such a good rig mover for you and Aaron. And it was so fun. All right, let's talk poker, okay?
Okay.
How did you start playing poker?
Okay, so this is I've been excited to talk to you about this. So I grew up playing in my family. My granddad, who I was really close to, that was like his game. Him and his buddies got together at their house every week and played poker. So I learned when I was like 5, betting
They
with
play
jelly.
Hold'em or different matches of games?
Hold'em.
Oh my
That's
God, how cool
Hold'em.
is that?
And we would sit around and, some families play Monopoly or Go Fish, like we played poker and we would bet with little candies or whatever it was. So I grew up with a love of the game, always played in my family. And then when I moved to Nashville, I found a home game here. Poker is not legal in an organized fashion in Tennessee.
Okay, like it is in Houston.
Exactly. So it's home games. But I've been playing on the same home game for years and years and years. And it's just a hobby of mine that I love. The funny thing about it is that well, I do want to clarify this. I am not a professional poker player.
Okay,
It is not how I make my money. No, not for you. It's that kind of came out in the show with a lot of the media.
Said it there, right?
They did. And
Did.
the funniest part is that so we don't pick our own titles on the show, right?
Oh.
We go through, we film everything, and for the entirety of me going through the process of the mole, through casting, through filming, through the edits, they were planning on labeling me as a pinball player, as like a competitive pinball player. And then
would have been awesome.
I know, I was so pumped, man. I was so pumped. But then a couple weeks before it came out, I got a call and they were like, hey, we want to give you a heads up. When we actually got into the edit, it makes more sense to directly translate your poker skills, because that's kind of what came out in the game. So we're going to call you a poker player. And I'm like, well, I said you could call me whatever you want to.
Just spell my name right if you can.
Thanks for having me. But it has been funny because it is a love of mine. It's something I do very regularly that doesn't often get a lot of talking points or attention. So it's been really fun to kind of dig into that.
Would you ever play in like a WPT or a World Series event?
Oh, absolutely. And what's been a silver lining in all of this, like, to be honest, I was very nervous when I got that call that said, we're going to call you a poker player, because my imposter syndrome immediately went off. I was like, well, this is an organized thing. People do this for their living, and all they have to do is Google me and see that I've not played in these like organized tournaments. Because I compare it to pinball, right? I'm like, someone says we played pinball tournaments, we go to IFPA, it's more the merrier. But I'm like, cool, where do they play? Who are they with?
Sure.
So I was very nervous that the poker community was gonna come for me with a pitchfork going, who are you? And it has been honestly so sweetly the opposite. I've had a lot of people reach out and invite me to come play tournaments if I'm in their city, come play their tables. And so that's been a really, really like redeeming and wonderful part about this, is because now I'm like, yeah, well, I would love to go try at one of them.
Would you would you go to like Vegas or Biloxi and playing some cash games occasionally, or?
Yeah. And I've actually played a lot in Canada, in Calgary.
Okay.
It has a lot of really cool casinos, and I've done a good bit of work up there. And that's one of my favorite things to stumble into and play some cash games there. Okay. So I do like playing for money. I just love the game through and through. But yeah, now this may have all now led to where I'm going to go play a tournament.
Good. Yeah. I'm sure the Biloxi Nugget would love to have you. How far is that?
It's a couple hours.
All right, well, let's get her to comp room.
I did one of a girl that plays regularly, and she played in like the World Series of Poker, like ladies events and all that. She reached out and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll come do a ladies event first. I'm doing my pinball intimidation all over again.
I know. Yeah. That imposter syndrome is real. So I have therapy sessions that I give outside of these podcasts. You just send me $50 and we'll talk it out. I don't know. So perfect.
We'll figure it out.
We played online poker during COVID, and we did Poker Stars, and we had about 65 people in the league. And we played 3 days a week, because none of us were doing anything, and we played 3 days a night. $10 buy-in, two buy-ins, and didn't hurt feelings, right? You don't get that
Right.
upset. But then when
No.
when you're down 500 for the month, you start getting upset. But
Oh yeah. It's
it's
such
really
a fun
fun.
game. And it's so translatable. And honestly, it's been so sweet because I was really close with my grandparents in Lake Jackson, Texas, which is like an hour south of Houston. That's where I
Sure,
grew
I
up.
know exactly where it is.
Yeah, right down 288. So
Yeah, I
I
lived in
was glad.
Pearland forever.
Oh, yeah, you're a neighbor.
No,
Um, yeah, I went to Brazoswood. I grew up in Lake Jackson, and like I was very, very, very close with my grandparents. And so I've missed them a lot going through the excitement of this show because I just kept thinking, like, man, they would be on cloud nine to get to witness this. And it was really sweet because I felt very close to my granddad. Like, I was like, he did this. He's pulling
yeah,
some strings somewhere. He's like, now
that's
we getting
sweet.
my game in there. We're getting my poker game.
Yeah, professional poker player. I was like, I went to Janine right when it came out. We started watching, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, Janine, I don't know if she's a professional poker player or not. And my mom's like, well, it says it right there. I was like, all right, well, we'll just
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah. It's and you know, the funny thing with those titles is a lot of them aren't what we do for our occupation.
Okay,
Um, but like there's several other people where, you know, it may not be their job. It is like what became relevant to the gameplay.
makes
For
sense.
me, I work in film production. So from the beginning, they were like, we're not going to say that. It's going to be confusing. You know, we
Right.
can't put you on a TV show going, she works in TV. Um, and they thought it would be fun to kind of never acknowledge that and then let people search around on the internet and find it out and make their own conclusions on like what that might mean for my role in the game.
Okay. So let's talk about the industry, entertainment industry for a second. You've done a ton of producing and writing. How'd you get into the entertainment industry? How'd that happen?
Yeah, so I was like full on theater kid growing up. I
Okay.
had asthma so bad. I did the allergy shots, I had the inhalers. So I was always very into video games and theater. Anything you could do indoors was my
Don't talk
world.
video games with me because we'll be here an hour.
Perfect. Perfect. We'll do that on part 2 of the podcast.
We will.
Uh,
We'll totally do that.
yeah, we absolutely can. Um, but yeah, so I grew up in theater and then ended up going to film school at Baylor University in Waco, Texas, and have worked in that field ever since. I mean, on and off, I've always bartended as well, done all kinds of side jobs to make it happen, but the goal was always to work in film. I'm trying to think. I did like comedy at Second City. I worked at Chicago for a
No
bit
kidding.
and did like improv and sketch up there and built like a digital archive under their archivist at Second City. Most of my most recent film experience in the last couple of years has been with ESPN. I do a lot of like, this sounds crazy. I do a lot of comedic writing in the sports betting world. Um,
Okay.
specifically for ESPN.
That's awesome. And you could do
Yeah.
that all the way from Nashville, even though they're produced up in Bristol all the time. It's
Yes,
home
it's
anymore.
and I travel to Bristol. I've been up there as well, but especially post pandemic, a lot of our industry has been a lot less tied to being in a specific spot.
Sure.
So, like I worked for a production company in Nashville that we actually made 2 seasons of a show for ESPN called Better Days that's all about sports betting. And it's almost like a drunk history type thing, like real people that have these insane sports betting stories
That's
that
cool.
are, you know, part historical, part reenactments. And I got to be head writer on that and lead story producer. So I would travel up to Bristol to work on the parts with talent, but most of it I got to do from here, and it's all behind the scenes. So it's been, you know, really funny because that's my comfort zone. My comfort zone has always been in all of the lead up that goes into the making of a show.
And now you're you get cast on a show where you're a contestant and you're on camera. Was that weird?
Mm-hmm. It Yes and no. I absolutely loved it. It helped me realize like, oh, like I don't have to solve all the problems now. People are
Right.
coming up like, oh, do you need an ice cold towel? And I'm like, do you need an ice cold towel? But the funny thing was, I was not able to disclose at the time to the other cast members that my background is actually in production. So we're on set and I feel more at home with the crew, right? Like I'm like got all my inside jokes with all of them. And I remember at some point a couple weeks in and someone was like, I feel like you're the favorite with the crew. And I remember just being like, well, yeah, because I know all their names. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's not to say any kind of like disrespect. It's more so like my brain is used to stepping on a set. And if there's 15 people in the camera department, I know all of their names, all of their backgrounds, because that's part of the job and you're comfortable there. Where it's such an intimidating world walking on as talent. And it's just this sea of people with things pointed at you, cameras and audio and everything else. That what I wanted to say at the time is like, I'm not the favorite. I just can't turn my brain off from being one of them.
Right. That's a nice trait, though. It's a nice trait. Knowing their
Yeah.
names is important to people,
Yeah, I
That's
was like, we
nice.
get the same mic'd up by the same people every day,
Yeah.
and it is overwhelming. So no one meant it intentionally. It's just like it's a different muscle. It's a different perspective on it all.
So let's now that we're talking about the mole, let's just talk about it. Netflix season 2. I was a huge fan of season 1 original on ABC, hosted by Anderson Cooper.
Mhm.
So when they brought it back to Netflix, I was like, that's a done deal. I have to watch this, right? And then I saw
Yes.
you on season 2 and I went, oh, that's a definite win. I'm definitely watching this, is right. So how do you get cast on this show? How does this happen?
Oh my gosh. So this is great. So I love to hear that you're a fan of the original because I was as well. Season
She was a
one of
really good mole. I remember her vividly. She was a really good mole. And
yeah,
she was having like anxiety about being the mole. Do you remember that?
yes.
Yeah.
She felt like she was betraying
Yeah,
everyone.
she was such a good person. That was a great season. I
Yeah.
don't know where you could find it, but if you could find it anywhere online, it's a pretty good season too.
You can order the DVDs,
Oh, okay.
which you can play in your PlayStations at home.
Yeah. Or Xbox if you happen to be an Xbox fan.
Or your Xbox. Yeah, like I loved the original Mole, and that era of reality television is so fun to me because there were no rules yet. There was no formula. It was so chaotic, and it's just
Yeah.
normal people stepping in to this kind of new genre. And
No
so I
Instagram, no followers, nothing like that. They just picked regular people.
Yeah. And they would put them in situations that like now seem so crazy. Like they had people in their 70s just legitimately bullfighting, just like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
not that you can't, but it's like there's more of a formula now, which I love the chaos of that. So I was a big fan of the original moles. And I was represented at my old job in production by CAA, Creative Arts Agency. And I remember an early meeting with that team. They were like, what's a show that doesn't exist anymore that you would have loved to have been a part of in some way? And at the time, like Queen's Gambit had just finished. And so many people on our call were like, Queen's Gambit, or all these like very cinematic things. And I was like,
I
you know what I would have liked to have been a part of? The Mole. And this is before the Netflix reboot. And everyone thought I was doing a bit because it was so not in the realm of anything else we were trying to do. And I was like, no, I'm not kidding. I
yeah.
wish that show would come back and someone needs to reboot it. And it was kind of a non-starter. So fast forward, and I knew layoffs were coming at the company I was with. And it was like my last month there. and we knew our department was basically getting laid off. So I had already started kind of looking at new jobs. And in one of my last meetings at CAA, they were like, all right, industry news. Actually, Netflix is renewing. Well, so they had rebooted it and they did season 1. They were like, they just announced they're going to renew it for season 2. They're bringing the mole back. And it almost started as a joke because sure enough, like within the week, my whole department got the call that we were losing our jobs. And I was like, no big deal. I'm just going to go on the mole. That's my plan. Everyone's like, what's your plan? I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to apply for the mole. Which I'd never applied for a TV show in my entire life. I specifically did it because I loved this show. I sent in an application, and about a month later, I got a text message that was like, hey, this is casting from the mole. Can we jump on a call? We jumped on a call. It was like 2 or 3 months of an audition process, a lot of Zoom interviews, physical testing, psychological testing, like so much. And the whole way through, I was just so thrilled to be even like getting an email with the title The Mole in it, that I never thought about what would happen if I actually got cast. And then I did. And 3 weeks later, I was headed to Malaysia. So,
oh my gosh.
Big believer in say out loud all your biggest, stupidest goals and dreams, because it happened. Yeah. It literally just happened like that.
I have a 3 to 5 minute story that I might tell you right now about how I almost made it on The Apprentice.
I want to hear it so bad.
Are you sure? Because it's like 3 to 5. It might take 5 minutes for me to tell.
Don't care. Take 10 minutes. I need to hear this story, Jamie.
All right. So I haven't told this in a long time, so bear with me. See if I can remember it totally. In 2004, after the second season of The Apprentice, they did with Donald Trump. The show went around the U.S. for a traveling audition, and came to like this big hotel in Houston for a casting call, if you will. And I watched the hell out of The Apprentice. I don't know if you did, but it was a top 10 show on NBC. All my friends and family heard that it was coming to Houston, and they pushed me to go to this open audition. They're like, you gotta go, you gotta go. It's a great story. It's once in a lifetime, right? So I go down to this hotel and I wait in line for like 5 hours. And the line starts moving. And when you get inside the hotel, you had to pick a line. You had to say Donald Trump's Apprentice or Martha Stewart's Apprentice. And I think it was her first season as a Martha Stewart apprentice, right? Let me preface this real quick. Hold on. This is 2004. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is before Martha went to jail and before Donald became Donald. Okay, so just don't send your emails. It's not political. It's just it was a television show. Okay.
Yeah.
So they put us in 2 lines depending on who you're going with, and then they sit us at a table of 10 people, and there's a producer and a camera, and there's like 50 tables. So I mean, they're just spitting people out, right? And they ask us, we're instructed to give our name, what we do for a living, and why we were here for Donald Trump's Apprentice and not Martha Stewart's Apprentice. So pretty simple question, right? In casting, right?
Yeah.
So everyone goes around and they're all telling their name and what they do and how much they love Donald Trump, right? It's just Donald Trump, love him, love him, love him. And I'm like, none of these people are going to get on this show. Okay. I've got to stand out or this is over. And I just wasted 6 hours of my life, right? So they get to me and this is terrible. So I go, hello, my name is Jamie Birchall. I'm a partner in an IT staffing firm. I'm interviewing with Donald Trump over Martha Stewart because I really don't think I could work for a woman at this point in my life. And then I look to the person next, like it's his turn, right? Now, I don't believe this. I don't believe any of this, okay? I had to be a little outrageous. The table erupts on me, right? How can you say this? What's going on with you, right? You should be embarrassed, right? And the producer looks at me and says, please explain. And I'm not really proud of any of this, but I go, listen, I live in the real world. I'm a recruiter. I can get a woman candidate to take about 10 to 20% less than a man candidate. And if that's the case, how can you say that they're equal? I'm sorry. And boom, they're hammering me, hammering me, hammering me. And this contestant across the table, Melissa, I could see her. She's like shaking, right? She's like,
Mhm.
I work for HP. I work for Carly Fiorina. And HP at this time had just bought Compact. You grew up in Houston area, so Compact was
Mhm.
like huge, right?
Yeah.
So just I'm playing this new persona. I go, Carly Fiorina will be gone in 2 years. Write it down. And they're just yelling, table erupts, right? So
Uh-huh.
the way, by the way, she was fired in 2 years later, but that had nothing to do with Jamie.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
no way. It's
No.
I'm just being an idiot. So finally, the producer asked us to go around the table, and we had to hire someone at the table and fire someone at the table. Out of 9 people, I was the only person fired. So no surprise. I mean, they all fired me. So the producer goes to me, who do you want to hire and fire? And I go, I can't see any of these people making it. So I'm not going to hire anyone. So I guess I would fire them all because they live in fantasy world. So we get up from the table and I'm like, okay, at least I have a story to tell. This is over. Everyone's giving me dirty looks. And the producer says, can you please come with me? So I go into the side room and I fill out this application, right? It's 2004,
Mhm.
so we still had to fill out application. So it's this long, have I ever been arrested? Da, 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 da. So I fill out, it takes me like an hour and a half to fill out this application. I finally get home and I don't hear back. And I'm like, wow, I have a good story. And I get a call on Super Bowl Sunday for me to come in and meet with another producer, one on one with closed caption or whatever they call it, okay,
Yeah.
to California and their production. Because it was, do you remember Mark Burnett?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, it was his show. So I'm going to be like telecast to those people, whatever. So I don't want to go on the show. I got bullied to go. I don't want to move back to New York, all right? Because I have a family here. I've got 2 kids and a business that's doing pretty well. I have no interest in this at this point. But Janine's like, got to do this. It's such a good story. Go back and just dial down the rhetoric. That was her advice, right? Just dial it down. I was like, okay, I'll dial it down. So I go, this is a long story. I told you, I'm sorry.
No, I love it.
Okay,
I'm invested.
all right. So I go in for round 2 and cameras and all this crap. And do you ever go into like a meeting and nail it and just know, like, I won that business or I won that interview? That interview's mine, right?
Yep.
That's how good I did, right? Melissa, I nailed it. And then I walk out of the room and I'm like, shit, I nailed that. Damn it. So I get a call 2 days later and they're like, thank you so much. That was great. We'll get back to you. I get a call 2 days later. We want to fly you to California last round before you meet Donald Trump. We are so excited about you, right? Now, I know it's not the last round. I'm sure there's like 10 more rounds, right? But the producer's telling me this, so whatever.
Yeah.
So I couldn't sleep that night. I'm like, I don't want to work for Donald Trump. I don't want to do any of this. And my wife, I finally go, please, can this dream die? This has been a really funny story. Can we just let this die in the wind? And so I called the producer back and I used this line. I wrote it down because I use this line. It's my favorite line to tell someone no. I'm sorry, the decision's been made. It's a good line, right? Because you can't come
Yeah.
back with that, because she spent like 10 minutes going, no, we think we love your personality. New Yorker in Houston, you got 2 areas that, yada, yada. So that is my long, ridiculous story of almost being flown to California to
Ugh.
be in the whatever of
I
season
just
3 of The Apprentice.
hate that we cannot now go back in time and watch you be on a 2004 version of The Apprentice.
I know. It was a 2000, and then I think Martha's show only lasted like 1 season. It was a
Yeah.
disaster. It didn't do well.
Oh my gosh.
And
But
then
I'll also
everyone
like,
everyone that knew that story was like, Birchall, that could have been you. Come on, Jamie. That should have been you.
right? It's like smart play though in knowing how casting works. Because I mean, you're so right. And like, even if it's not true in what it is, you have to have something to stand out, and they have to have something to work with.
Yeah, because
That is
everyone was just so
hilarious
yada
for you.
yada. They were like, I love Donald Trump. Yay. And I was just like,
Yeah.
none of this is gonna work, guys. You guys are just you just wasted 5 to 6 hours of your life. It's Houston, it's hot. Even in the winter, it was hot.
Yeah,
So,
like what separates you? It's so funny too, because even though it didn't like end up in the final cut of it, through the entire process, that thing for me was competitive pinball. Truly. Like from the whole casting process, even through filming, like that was the thing that Netflix was so interested in, because people didn't believe, not they didn't believe, but like so many people hadn't even heard of this world. They're like, well, we've
mhm.
heard of pinball, but what do you mean you play pinball tournaments? Like, what does that mean? And honestly, I joked for a long time that I felt like the only reason I even made it as far as I did in casting was because people were so interested in hearing about like
Yeah.
the
They're like, you gotta talk to
IFPA.
this Melissa girl. She's pinball.
Yeah, they're like,
It's
she's
so wild.
telling us about this corner of the world that we have not heard about yet.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's really funny. I am happy that you set the boundary when you knew it was time to end it, but that's a great story and I wish we could watch it.
Oh, well, thank you. I was worried about telling it and like just people sending the IMs. Jamie, that's enough. That's long enough. You're interviewing Melissa, not you. So because I'm gonna
No, the
get
real
them.
question is what so you didn't follow through on The Apprentice, but is there a reality show now that you would follow through on if they came a calling?
Yeah, Big Brother. I would go on. I've
Yeah.
watched every season of Big Brother forever. And
Oh,
old guys get screwed every year. They get screwed, and I've had it with it. And now I'm an old dude. I'm 51. I'm sick of it. And I just get in better shape, lose a couple LBs, and let's go. Because these youngins, man, they're ruining one of my favorite shows
mhm.
with
Are
their
you watching?
drunk. Yeah, are you watching?
Yeah, I'm watching.
She's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Hold
It's a
I
it's a
got
whole thing. Well, now we have to get another one of us pinball players on a show, because my pinball didn't make it into my show. So now we got to do it again. We got to get one of us on these network shows to spread the gospel, you
I
know?
know that's the joke, right? How do you know someone plays pinball? They open their mouth, they start talking to you, right? Because we're so
Exactly.
damn addicted to it. All right, back to the mall. If anyone hasn't seen the show, too bad. We're going to talk spoilers. You can skip this chapter marker, okay? Uh,
My cat's freaking out. I'm gonna get her real quick so she doesn't
go.
meow over our audio.
No worries. All right, first question about the mall. How nice is Ari Shapiro in real life? Is he as genuine as he seems to be? Because I liked him from NPR, so he just appears to be authentic.
I am obsessed with Ari. Also, so we didn't know who the host was gonna be until he walks out in that first mission.
No kidding.
Yeah, for real. Like we had no idea. So we had heard rumors that maybe Alex Wagner wasn't back, but it wasn't confirmed. So we're standing out there. It's our first day of like filming as a group. And Ari comes through looking like this handsome debonair, almost like Bond villain. And I had never seen what he looked like. I'd never seen a picture of Ari, so I didn't know who he was. And then he opens his mouth and he's like, "Hello, I'm Ari Shapiro." And I was like, I can hear you, like, I have heard you
Oh,
say
I
that.
know. He's like a voice in the gods to hear his voice. And as someone who's trying to do media, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's voice is so great.
It was incredible. I was immediately so excited. Um, yeah, he's great. And I loved Ari. I thought he did such a good job on the show, because he didn't try to, like, The Mole is such a beloved show and people get really attached to the hosts. And he didn't try to be Anderson. He didn't
No,
try to be Alex Wagner. He found like his own version and kind of persona of doing it, that I thought was so great. And we all were very attached to Ari. Like, I think he's just one of the most fascinating people I've spent time around.
And I think he was really attached to you guys because
Yeah,
the exit walks were real. That didn't seem scripted to me. That seemed like he was just walking you out and saying, man, I'm so sorry. You know?
yeah,
And he really like he cared.
truly. Like he truly did. And I have a fun story I can share about my exit walk actually, because he has to be very like neutral with us. He's very kind to everyone. But he's very neutral kind of until you get eliminated, and then you're staying in the crew hotel, you see him more. So the night of my elimination, he walks me out, and then there's a good like probably 5-10 minutes before I actually get in the car, and he turns to me and he's so excited and he's like, I have been dying to tell you. I called one of my best friends and I told her about you, because his co-host is Juana Summers, who plays in the IFPA. She is a competitive pinball player. She's one of us. And she did this big article, I believe, in the New York Times about like the community that she found through competitive pinball. So he watched all of our audition tapes as like research basically.
Oh, smart.
And saw that I played pinball. And when he was walking me out, he was like, I called her and I was so excited to tell her that we have a pinball girl in the cast. And so we really bonded over that too, because he's like, you have to come to DC, we'll get martinis, we'll all go play pinball together. But yeah, so it was fun because he definitely had his version of himself on the game, but then once you're out of the game, he could kind of hang a little more. And it's just like an absolute sweetheart. Like I cannot say enough good things about Ari.
I knew you would say that, and I was hoping too, because I was hoping you wouldn't go, oh, he's such a jerk, and I would have been so devastated. I would have been like, oh no.
If he were, I would be like, yeah, Ari did a good job.
Yeah, he's okay. He was good.
That
So
would have been my response. He did a good job.
yeah, he did okay.
But no, I love him. He's just the best.
So obviously you didn't think Sean was the mole, because you were eliminated. And he really was a fantastic mole, wasn't he?
He was incredible. And
Yeah.
like, there's several things that go into it. I think in the beginning, one, it's really hard because the less information you have, the harder it is. One question I've gotten is like, would you do it different? And I'm like, probably not. I just had a blind spot. Like I had not at that point in the game worked with Sean at all. So,
Right. Well, you
I had
burst
never,
down a building separately. You were on separate teams. It was
yeah,
you played. Yeah, I'm looking back.
like it's not, that's like the fun of that game is there is an element of just situational circumstance to it where what you do know, but then there's also this pile of what you can't know and what you don't know. And especially in the beginning, that's what'll get you. But Sean was so committed to this kind of goofball,
Yes.
scared, stay-at-home
He,
dad, and he
yeah.
never turned it off, ever, ever.
My wife, it's episode 2 or 3. She goes, "That guy's the mole." I go, "No way! Look at him!" And she's like, "He's he's a bumbling clown. There's no way he's that. There's no way he's
Yeah,
that bumbly." And
yeah,
that was her phrase. And but she got lucky. I don't. I mean, she's just watching
yeah.
from home. But
But also it's like he really did embody that, like, because we're filming, but it's also long days of travel, it's long days of meetings, and like everyone kind of had their on camera, you turn it on,
mhm.
and then not that you're different off camera, but even if someone was just like, okay, now I'm just tired, I'm just gonna like sleep in the van on the way home, there's some kind of shift, right? Sean never missed a beat on this kind of character he was playing.
He
So
never
I
turned it
was
off.
really, he never turned it off.
Wow.
And, him and I are really tight. Like he is just an absolute sweetheart, but he's like, y'all have no idea how exhausting it was on these like 15-hour days to even in the break where we go drink a bottle of water, I have to play this character.
He can never turn it off. He can never let his guard down because the game's ruined, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought Ryan was the mole.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was just convinced that she was doing some shenanigans on the raft right in the beginning. And
Mhm.
I was like, this, but congrats to Michael for winning the mole. What a great player. What a
Yeah,
great
he was
player.
fantastic and very strategic all the way through. Like the thing with a show is they can't ever really lock in, like they can't make it easy though. The fun of it is the audience gets to play along. But
Mhm.
I will say, like, Michael locked in on Sean like fairly early and never wavered from that. So even in the moments where it may look like he's messing up, like he was so strategic that everything was always on purpose with him. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there was never a mess up that was an accident. He just played a really, really good game. And I was
Once
close with
once he focused on Sean, you could really see that Michael was like, all right, I got to throw the scent because I'm on the scent of Sean. I got to throw people my way or Muna's way or anyone to kind of
yeah.
like get them off the thing. I saw you had an Instagram live with Q the other day. Is he
Yeah.
another authentic great guy?
Yes. Q is like, he is one of my closest friends from the cast for sure. And I think that in Malaysia, him and I bonded a ton because we just were in the same headspace going through the experience, which is that we were just very grateful to be there. Even on the hard days, like we were just having the time of our lives, but also we were like, this is TV and we have lives at home.
Right.
So we want to make sure that however we go through this show and this game, that we still can like hold our heads high when we get home.
Yeah.
And so him and I were a really great support system for each other when things got really tough because he's so funny. He's such like a pep talk giver. He's like youth
Yeah.
football coach. So
He's a
especially towards
coach.
the end of the summer when things started to get just really like, oh, we've been here for 2 months, it's getting wild. And he's always just like, I have this message that makes me laugh so hard. It's like the day before finale, and he's like, girl, you've made it 2 months. You can't get crazy on me now. Don't get crazy now. Like, you are about to get on a plane, just head held high, like, keep it together. And I just loved him for that. He's hysterical. We did laugh a lot about his back-to-back elimination.
Oh, that hurts feelings. That hurt feelings for me to watch because then I thought when he came back, I'm like, that's such a mole thing to do to bring him in, right? And they would give him the answer to three people, and then I started thinking Q is the mole, and I was like, no way, he's too sweet.
We knew something was going on too because the whole cast is there for the full 2 months. No one goes home to
Okay, I was
America.
going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all there the entire time. But we are like, the eliminated players are kept completely separate from the ones in the game so that it
Okay.
doesn't, for good reason. I mean, if I
Totally.
were to
Yeah, because
tell
they don't want
someone
to ask
your
you who
time at
you voted
home,
for. Right. Yeah, it's over.
yeah. But when Q went home the first time, and you can kind of know by like timing, we're like, man, no one's come back. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a good amount of time. Like, he didn't join us after his first
Oh,
elimination,
okay. Yeah.
basically. And that was very different and weird and fishy. And we're all kind of like, what's going on? And then, a couple days later, Q, Q
Yeah.
comes online with us, and he's like, girl, you are not gonna believe what just happened. And it's not funny at all, but it was funny. Like, he had such a good sense of humor about it that it let us all kind of laugh about it together. Like, he's just like, the odds of that happening, like getting to go back, guessing it right, doing all that, earning all that money for the pot, and then just immediately going home.
No, that hurt. That hurt my
Yeah.
feelings. I felt so bad for him. But
I
I want
love
to
him.
invite him to the wormhole and play pinball with that dude. How cool would he? I would love to hang out with him and play some
You
pinball.
will.
You know he's competitive, right? You know he's
Oh
not
yeah.
going to let anybody just win.
Yeah, I'll call him. I'll bring him to Houston for sure. Any excuse I have to hang out with Q, I'll take.
That would be so cool. I would geek to meet him because he was my favorite. Because when Niche, all right, this is we're getting real into it, but when Niche drained that pot 59-5, Q lost his mind. And it was so real. He's like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we here?
Truly.
Yeah.
Like everything he did through that summer was like so sincere.
Yeah.
And, you know, a question that he's gotten a lot too, because like they'll ask me, you know, are you really a poker player? And I'm like, well, I play poker. I also grocery shop. I wouldn't say that's my job, you know, but so he got a lot of that going like, Q, are you really a bus driver? And he's like, yeah, yes, I am. Like he drives the city bus for the city of Pittsburgh. Like he's like a hardcore Steelers fan. He coaches youth sports. Like he is that guy. So the way he went through that game, and he's also got 4 kids, which are just adorable and great.
Oh,
so in his
awesome.
mind, he was like, I'm giving up a summer with my children to try to win this game to change our lives. And he took that really, really seriously. And it was great. It was wonderful. It's what you want from a show like The Mole. You don't want just a bunch of people trying to
no offense
famous.
to Hannah, but you can't fill it all with Hannah's because I'd be like, ugh. I mean, do you talk to Hannah? Do you talk to any of them?
So we have a group text that
Okay.
all 12 of us are on. So yeah, we've talked basically since we got back last summer. You can hear my cat meowing again. So we've all talked on that group text just about every day for the last year because we filmed it a year ago.
Oh my gosh.
Can you believe I kept that secret for a whole year, Jamie?
Well, no, you had an NDA. That's why the NDAs work.
It was so hard. It was so hard. But yeah, so we all talk as a group. Obviously, like some of us are closer in individual ways than others, but it's a very like family dynamic in terms of this crazy experience that we all went through as strangers. Yeah, so we're all in touch, but Q I talk to, you know, there's some I talk to more than others, and I definitely talk to that.
Sure. So I mean, was this an adventure of a lifetime?
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, the wildest dream I could have ever had was your favorite show comes back from the dead. Right. They put it on Netflix. They let you go on it. And then you spend 2 months getting paid to play games in this like beautiful region of the world. Like it still doesn't feel like it actually happened.
It's so awesome. I'm so happy for you that you're on the show. Congratulations. You were absolutely great. I was like telling everyone and their grandmother, you've got to watch her. She's so fantastic. And then unfortunately you didn't make it past the 3rd episode, but that's not your fault. I thought you were so great on that episode too. I mean, you're really going down trying to find the red pots, and were you scared?
It's okay. Everything goes how it's supposed to, you know, like I ended on a high. I got to do some really incredible things. And also with the way production goes, like everything takes longer in the beginning. So of the 2 months we were there was only 2.5 weeks that I wasn't in the game.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, the timeline feels different when you watch it back, but, yeah, it's like I basically got to do the show and then also have some time to go sightseeing.
Yeah, did you get to do some sightseeing when you got eliminated, or?
I did. Yeah. It was still very contained, and production still had kind of approvals, but we did have sort of a buddy system where we had like one person from the cast we were kind of generally allowed to do stuff with. So mine was Andy. And
so sweet though.
Yeah, so Andy and I had a lot of adventures in Malaysia where we went and saw Barbie together in Malacca, Malaysia, which is like a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And I'm like, this is the strangest day ever, and I absolutely love it. Yeah, so it was great. It was such a good experience.
Did you look up pin map in Malaysia?
I did. So here's a fun fact.
Go ahead. I was just
I
joking.
found, of course I did. I did not find any in Malaysia, but when we left to fly back to the US, I had an 8-hour layover in Singapore, in the Singapore airport with Sean, and Q and Hannah, but Sean and I were there for the full 8 hours. And Pin Map said there was an Iron Man in the Singapore airport. That airport is like the size of a small city. And Sean and I together, because he also loves pinball. He's come and played with me at No Quarter. He goes to the Pinball Hall of Fame in Vegas a lot. He lives in Vegas. He's never done like an IFBA tournament, but I wouldn't put it past him to start soon because he loves to play. We spent about 2.5 hours walking around the Singapore airport trying to find this Iron Man machine, which it turns out we finally found this like tiny arcade room that was closed for construction, and there was not a pinball machine in it. But there had been an Iron Man. So that was our last adventure on the whole trip, was Sean and I trying to track down an Iron Man from Pin Map.
Did you go to Pin Map and say there's no Iron Man here?
Right?
You update Pin Map. Excuse
I
me.
should have been like, I came all the way to Singapore to play this specific Iron Man. Yeah, so I didn't get to play any pins there, but I definitely brought some people into the hobby with the amount I talked about it to my fellow cast members.
So awesome. We could have a cast reunion at the Wormhole if they ever are in Houston. If you come home, you can
There we
totally,
go.
that would be awesome. I'd host the hell out of it. We'll put a flip frenzy on there.
Yes.
How fun would it be?
That would be such a fun stream.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, I've gotten to play now with Sean, with Niche, and with Ryan. So that's a third of the cast right there. And Ari would join us for sure. And
Spread in the word.
So yeah, let's do it.
All right. Are you ready for our final segment? Our exciting rapid fire question game that we call the Hurry Up. Thanks to our Discord channel and Donovan Wade for helping me write a few of these questions. Are you ready for the Hurry Up?
Yes, I am ready.
All right. Best reality game show with over 20 seasons. The Amazing Race, Survivor, or Big Brother?
Big Brother.
Which of these original pinball themes would make a great movie? Monster Bash, Cactus Canyon, Total Nuclear Annihilation, or Galactic Tank Force?
Monster Bash.
Yeah, that'd be
Although good. Cactus Canyon is one of my very favorites, and I'm glad that they just remade it. But Monster Bash for a movie.
That would be a good movie. You should produce that. That'd be fun.
I would like to my name in the hat for Bride of Frankenstein. So
that's pretty cool. All right, Stern's World Poker Tour. Raise or fold that machine?
Raise.
Nashville hot chicken or Memphis pulled pork?
Nashville hot chicken.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Come on.
Titans or Predators?
Titans. Will Levis be?
Follow-up question. This comes from Go Bills on our Discord channel. Should the Tennessee Titans be allowed to wear the Houston Oilers throwback jerseys?
I believe so. And I love this question because I feel so personally attached to it as a Houston girl that is now a Nashville resident. I joke that I followed my football team, and I am absolutely thrilled to see the Oilers jerseys back.
Ooh. All right.
Should they be allowed? I don't know, but am I happy about it as a Nashvilleian? Hell yeah.
All right. Did you buy a jersey? Did you buy one of those with the Nashville Titans?
I have not, but I have actually produced 3 jobs for the Tennessee Titans in this last year since I've been back from the show.
Well, you have okay, so you had to answer that way, but you still.
Well, I love them. I can say no to a job. I really love Will Levis. I really believe in him, our new rookie quarterback.
You're all in.
Smart guy. Smart guy.
You're all in. All right. Worst Nashville tourist, a drunk country music fan or bachelorette party?
Drunk country music fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite non-poker card game?
Ooh. Gin Rummy.
You get to choose one game for the final round of the Tennessee State Championship. One pinball machine do you get to pick?
Centaur.
Yeah, Centaur's good. All right, last question. What are your pinball high score initials for anyone visiting the Nashville arcades?
MLL. Um, if you're at the insider boards, my name is Melvira, because I am a huge Elvira fan. So MLL are my initials, and Melvira is my Stern Insider Connect.
Thank you so much for hanging with me today. That was fun. I really appreciate you. And it was great catching up with you. Where can people find you online, Mellisa?
Instagram is the easiest at mel.lummus. That's Lummus. That's where I keep up with things the most, honestly. Broken Diode on Twitch, which we are now resurrecting, and occasionally the Wormhole Pinball when I'm in Houston.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Instagram's the easiest way to do it. I'm very excited to have done this. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and I feel very honored to be a part of
Oh my
the
gosh.
extended Wormhole family.
Absolutely. You know, we love having you here and we love having you on stream. And so 3 chances to see you if I don't go get that machine in the next 2 weeks is going to be either Houston Arcade Expo, then the Chicago Expo, or TPF in March. So we've got
Yeah.
multiple chances to see each other soon. So
Absolutely. And I'll probably come see my family in Houston and hit y'all all up as well.
well, you have an open invite. I'd open the joint for you.
Well, thanks. I'll bring Q. I'll make it worth it.
Oh, well, then I'll definitely open the joint for you. That would be awesome. All right. Thanks again, Mellisa. I really, really appreciate it. Big things are coming for you, and I can't wait to watch what you've got next. It's so awesome. What a great story you're writing.
I really appreciate y'all a bunch. So,
Bye.
see you soon. Bye.
Well, that was fun. Not to sound like Stevie Wonder, but isn't she lovely? I mean, she really, really is. Okay, need your input, listeners and viewers. I'm switching to 2 pods a month. And I got a little excited and just kept going and recording, but I need to pace myself because I know myself and I'll burn out. So I don't want to do that. So not gonna have a podcast next week. But I'd love to put them out like Friday morning every week. And I'm shooting for 2, potentially 3 a month, but 2 is really what I really prefer. Follow us on all the socials, especially Instagram. We have like 1,200 plus followers on Instagram, and I'd really like to get us to 1,300. And follow us on YouTube, because YouTube we have like 8,500. So I don't know what we've done on YouTube over Instagram, but let's make that happen. And I really am going to be taking this new camera for a spin, the Osmo Pocket 3. So documenting again some cool stuff, not only with the Wormhole East Museum, but the wormhole itself, our vault, and some more places. All right, one more story. Okay. I owe my friend John Spates an apology, and I hope he's listening to this. And I want to share why I owe him an apology. And they're fixing Swords of Fury, so that's what you hear in the background. For over a year now, John Spates has wanted to do something really cool for the Monday night stream that we have. And we stream on Twitch the second and fourth Monday of every month, and we stream a game. We have a $2 buy-in fun 1X tournament, not IFBA, and we're just clowns. And we do this the second and fourth Monday again. And we have never duplicated a game. And with over 200 plus pins, I think we're going to be in really good shape to never duplicate for quite some time. So John wanted the ability to put headphones on a player and then listen to our commentary booth live. So basically put the headphone on the player, players all the way over there. They can hear us. We can get tips. We can bust their butt, all that good stuff. But I couldn't figure it out because the lag was terrible between Bluetooth and this. And then one day John goes, "What if we just got a long ass cord for this headset?" And I couldn't find the Audio Technica cord and all this, but finally we figured it out. He went to Guitar Center and we found these long cords. And finally, on our Rick and Morty stream that we just put up a couple of weeks ago, we had the long cord and the long headphone. And it was awesome. It really transported me back to our original streams, which another shameless plug you can still find on YouTube. But it's more of camaraderie, and some of the players didn't want to wear the headphones, some did, and it really turned out great. So go check that out on YouTube's coming up. but I think that is still on our Twitch channel. So thank you so much. It was a great stream. And I apologize again to John for being resistant. I was resistant. I didn't think it was going to work. And he's a hell of a producer and a hell of a friend. He's the best. And I really appreciate you, John. Thanks so much. And it turned out great. It really did. It was awesome. All right. I've kept you long enough. Remember our number one rule at the Wormhole. Don't be an ass.